My mother left me at a train station when I was 17. Not because she was angry, not because we were lost, not because there had been some emergency. She left me there because she thought it would be funny. It was a rainy Friday evening outside a small station in western Pennsylvania, and I remember everything with painful clarity: the wet pavement shining under the yellow lamps, the cold metal bench beneath me, the paper cup of hot chocolate growing cold in my hands, and the sound of my family laughing as the car pulled away. My mother had rolled down the window. She smiled. Then she said, "Let's see how long it takes our little genius to figure out how to get home." My stepfather laughed from the driver's seat. My older brother raised his phone and recorded me through the glass. And my mother made one last joke before they drove away. "Maybe this will teach you not to act so entitled." I stood there watching their taillights disappear into the rain. At first, I smiled. I thought they would come back. I thought the joke would last 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe 20. But then the station became quieter. The last train left. The parking lot emptied. And I realized something that changed the way I looked at my family forever. They weren't coming back. What they didn't know was that I had one thing in my backpack they should never have left me alone with: a letter from my grandmother. And inside that letter was a secret that would eventually turn their little joke into the biggest mistake they had ever made. My name is Claire Bennett, and for most of my life, I believed my family didn't love me because I was difficult to love. That was the story they taught me. My mother, Diana, was beautiful, charming, and incredibly good at making other people feel guilty without ever raising her voice. She had a way of smiling while saying something cruel. People trusted her immediately. Neighbors loved her. At church events, she was the woman who organized donations. At family gatherings, she was the one who brought homemade desserts. At the grocery store, strangers somehow ended up telling her their entire life story. My mother knew how to look kind. She just didn't know how to be kind when nobody was watching. My older brother, Tyler, was 23 and treated our family like his private bank. He had borrowed money for a car, borrowed money for college, borrowed money for a business idea that lasted 6 months. Every time something went wrong, my mother found a way to fix it. When I needed something, she called it a lesson. When Tyler made a mistake, she called it bad luck. When Tyler failed, she said he needed another chance. When I succeeded, she said I had gotten lucky. That had always been the pattern. I was the reliable one, the quiet one, the one who got good grades, worked part-time, helped around the house, and never asked for much. And somehow, that made me the problem. My grandmother, Margaret Bennett, was the only person who ever seemed to notice. She lived about an hour away in a little white house near a lake. It wasn't a fancy house. The paint was slightly worn. The kitchen cabinets were old. The porch steps creaked. But it was the only place where I never felt like I had to earn my right to be there. Grandma Margaret would open the door, see me, and say, "There you are." Not, "What did you do?" Not, "Why are you late?" Not, "Did you finish your homework?" Just, "There you are." As if my existence itself was good news. When I was 15, she gave me a notebook with a blue cover. "Write things down," she told me. "What things?" "Things you think you'll forget." I laughed. She didn't. "You'll be surprised how quickly people rewrite the past." I thought she was being dramatic. Years later, I understood. Grandma was sick by the time I turned 17. She never told me exactly how serious it was, but I could see it. She moved more slowly. She took longer to climb stairs. She started keeping a chair beside the kitchen counter so she could rest while cooking. My mother began visiting her more often. That should have made me happy. Instead, it made me nervous. Because every time my mother returned from Grandma's house, she asked strange questions. "How much do you think that house is worth? Did Grandma ever talk about selling the lake property? Did she tell you anything about her finances? Did she ever mention a will?" I never knew how to answer. One afternoon, I told her, "Grandma doesn't like talking about money." My mother smiled. "Neither do you." I shrugged. She walked away. At the time, I didn't know what that meant. Now I do. My mother had already started planning for a future in which Grandma wasn't making the decisions. A few months later, Grandma called me one evening. "Come see me tomorrow," she said. "Is everything okay? I need to give you something." "What is it?" "Just come." The next afternoon, I drove to her house after school. She was waiting for me on the porch. The sky was gray. The lake looked almost silver. She handed me an old envelope. My name was written on the front in her handwriting. Don't open it until you're somewhere private. I stared at it. Grandma, you're making me nervous. You should be nervous. I laughed. She didn't. Then she touched my cheek. Claire, there are people in this family who love what I can provide more than they love who I am. My stomach tightened. Mom? Grandma looked toward the lake. I didn't say your mother. You didn't have to. She sighed. Listen to me. Whatever happens, don't let anyone convince you that being independent is something to apologize for. I nodded slowly. Then she said something I'll never forget. Your mother thinks she's the only person who knows how to play this family. She looked me directly in the eyes. She isn't. I took the envelope home. I hid it inside the blue notebook, and I didn't open it for 3 days. I wish I could tell you that I was brave. I wasn't. I was scared. I knew my mother could be controlling, but I still believed deep down that she was my mother. That meant there had to be some line she would never cross. I was wrong. The train station incident happened on a Friday. Earlier that evening, my mother had told me we were going to dinner. Tyler was coming. My stepfather, Rick, was driving. We ate at a restaurant about 40 minutes from home. Tyler talked about buying a new truck. Rick kept saying he knew a guy who could get him a deal. My mother talked about a vacation. Nobody asked me anything. Then, on the drive home, my mother suddenly said, "Let's stop by the station." Why? I need to make a phone call. We pulled into the parking lot. She parked near the entrance. Then she turned around. Get out. I laughed. What? Get out for a second. I thought maybe they were playing around. I opened the door. The rain was falling harder. I looked back into the car. Tyler was smiling. My stepfather was laughing. My mother said, "You always say you're independent." I froze. What? She laughed. Prove it. Then the door shut. The car moved. I ran after it. Mom! Tyler held up his phone. I could see him recording. My mother waved, and they drove away. I stood there for several minutes, trying to decide whether I should laugh or cry. So I laughed. I laughed because I refused to believe that my own mother had actually done it. I laughed until my face hurt. Then I sat down. I checked my phone. No message. No calls. I called my mother. She didn't answer. I called Tyler. Straight to voicemail. Rick didn't answer either. I sent a text. Okay, funny. Come get me. No response. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour. The station employee told me the last train had already departed. Do you need help getting home? He asked. I swallowed. My family is coming. He looked at the empty parking lot. Are you sure? Yes. I wasn't. I sat there until after midnight. At 12:17, my mother finally texted me. Hope you're learning something. That was it. No apology. No explanation. No location. Just those 4 words. Hope you're learning something. I stared at the screen. Then something inside me changed. I opened my backpack. I pulled out the blue notebook. And for the first time, I opened Grandma's envelope. There was a handwritten letter, and beneath it was a key. I read the first line. Claire, if you're reading this before you are 18, it means I may not be able to protect you directly. I stopped breathing. I read on. My daughter has been asking questions about my property. She believes my home, my savings, and the land belong to her because she is my only child. They do not. I looked at the key. My hands began to shake. The letter continued. I have created a trust in your name. It does not become fully accessible until you turn 21. Until then, a professional trustee will oversee the property. Your mother does not control it. I stared at the page. There was more. A significant portion of my estate is also designated for your education and housing. This is not a gift meant to make you dependent. It is protection against anyone who may try to control you financially. I read that sentence 3 times. Then I reached the final paragraph. There is one more thing you must understand. Your mother has already tried to influence my lawyer regarding my estate. She told him you are irresponsible and emotionally unstable. I almost dropped the letter. That wasn't true. Not even close. Grandma had known. She had seen it coming. And then I read the last sentence. If your family ever makes you feel like you have no home, remember this. You do. I sat in that train station until sunrise. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't thinking about how to make my mother happy. I was thinking about how to survive without her approval. At 6 in the morning, the station employee helped me call a local taxi service. I used the last of my cash. When I finally reached home, I found my mother in the kitchen making coffee. She looked at me, then she smiled. "Good morning." I stared at her. "You left me at a train station." She took a sip of coffee. "You found your way home. You didn't even come back." She shrugged. "You're 17, Claire. It was time you learned something." I looked at Tyler. He was sitting at the counter. He laughed. "I told you she'd make it." My mother laughed too. That's when I understood. They had actually bet on me. They had turned my fear into entertainment. I looked at them and asked, "How much?" Tyler stopped laughing. "What? How much did you bet?" My stepfather entered the room. "Don't start." "No. I want to know." My mother narrowed her eyes. "It was a joke." "How much?" Tyler looked away. My mother sighed. $100. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. I had been sitting alone in a dark train station for hours while 3 adults laughed about whether I could get home. And their reward for humiliating me was money. I walked upstairs. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't tell them about the letter. I didn't tell them about the trust. That was my first real act of independence. I kept a secret. Over the next few weeks, I quietly began preparing. I contacted the law firm listed in Grandma's letter. An attorney named Daniel Brooks called me. His voice was calm. He confirmed everything. My grandmother had created a trust years earlier. The trust included the lake house, several investment accounts, and education funding. My mother had no authority over it. Why didn't Grandma tell me? She wanted you to have as normal a childhood as possible. I swallowed. What happens now? You're a minor, so there are limitations. But no one can simply take what she left for you. I asked him the question that had been haunting me. Did my mother really tell people I was irresponsible? There was a pause. Yes. My chest tightened. Why? Your grandmother believed your mother was trying to create a record that would make you look incapable of managing money. I closed my eyes. My mother had been preparing for something. I just didn't know what. Then Daniel said, "There's something else." "What?" "Your grandmother documented several incidents." "Like what?" "She wrote down conversations she had with your mother about the estate." I sat silently. "Did she say why?" Daniel answered carefully. "She was afraid your mother would try to challenge the trust after her death." That changed everything. My grandmother wasn't simply protecting my future. She was protecting me from my family. My relationship with my mother grew colder after that. Not because I stopped caring, because I stopped pretending. I still went to school, still came home, still helped with dinner, but I stopped trying to earn affection. My mother noticed. One night she said, "You've become very distant. I guess I'm growing up." She stared at me. "Don't get clever." I went upstairs. I heard her talking to Rick downstairs. "She thinks she's better than us," Rick said. "She's 17. She thinks that trust makes her special." I froze on the stairs. They knew. I hadn't told them. Someone had told them. The next morning, my mother confronted me. "How much did Grandma leave you?" I said nothing. She slammed her cup onto the counter. "Answer me." "I don't know." "That isn't what Daniel told me." I looked at her. "You talked to my lawyer?" "He isn't your lawyer. He represents the trust." My mother's face hardened. "You're not even old enough to understand what money does." "Maybe." "You'll lose it." "Maybe." "You'll make stupid decisions." "Maybe." She leaned closer. "But you won't lose it if I manage it for you." There it was. The real plan. Not concern. Control. I shook my head. "No." Her face changed immediately. "You don't get to say no to me." I looked directly at her. "Actually, I think I do." She walked away. That was the beginning of the war. It didn't happen all at once. It happened through little things. She canceled the car I used for school. She told relatives that I had become arrogant. She started telling people I was obsessed with Grandma's money. At family gatherings, she would make little comments. "Claire is going through a phase. She thinks she's going to be rich. She believes Grandma's house is hers." People laughed. I said nothing, because I had learned something. You don't win every battle by speaking. Sometimes you win by collecting evidence. So I kept the notebook. I wrote down dates, times, conversation, message, everything. Then, 3 months before my 18th birthday, Grandma died. The funeral was small. I stood beside the lake house and watched people arrive. My mother cried beautifully. She cried the way she always did, quietly, gracefully, perfectly. People hugged her. They told her Grandma had been lucky to have a daughter like her. I nearly laughed. At the cemetery, my mother held my hand. "I miss her so much," she whispered. I looked at her. "So do I." She squeezed my fingers. "She wanted you to stay close to me." I knew she was lying. Not because Grandma had told me she hated my mother. She hadn't. But because Grandma had never told me to depend on her, she had told me the exact opposite. That night, my mother asked me to sign some papers. "What are these?" "Routine estate documents." I gave them to Daniel. He called me the next morning. "Don't sign anything." My stomach dropped. What did she send me? A document giving her control over certain assets. I stared at the page. She said it was routine. It isn't. I felt sick. My mother was trying to gain control over the trust before I turned 18. When she realized she couldn't do it legally, she tried another strategy. She began telling everyone I was unstable. A family friend called me one afternoon. "Your mother is worried about you." "Why?" "She says you're under a lot of stress." I understood immediately. My mother was building another story. One where I wasn't capable of making decisions. One where she was the concerned parent. One where she was the victim. And if she could convince enough people, maybe she could challenge the trust. Then something unexpected happened. My brother Tyler came into my room one night. He closed the door. "I need to talk to you." I stared at him. "What?" He looked uncomfortable. "I didn't know about the train station thing." "Yes, you did." "I mean, I didn't know Mom wouldn't come back." I didn't respond. He sat down. "She told me she'd come get you after 20 minutes. I looked at him. "You watched the whole thing." "I thought it was a prank." "You recorded me." He looked down. "I deleted the video." "Why?" He didn't answer. Then he said, "Because Mom isn't telling you everything." My heartbeat quickened. "What do you mean?" He reached into his pocket and handed me a small envelope. "I found this in her desk." I opened it. Inside was a copy of a property agreement. The lake house wasn't the only asset Grandma owned. There was another parcel of land, a large piece of commercial property near a growing town. Estimated value, nearly $2.8 million. I looked at Tyler. "What is this?" She was trying to sell it. "To who?" He swallowed. "To a company Rick knows." My stomach dropped. "Why?" "Because she needed money." "For what?" Tyler hesitated. "Debts." I looked at the documents again. My mother and Rick had been trying to sell Grandma's property while Grandma was still alive. But Grandma stopped them. Tyler nodded. Then, after she died, Mom thought the trust would be challenged. I stared at him. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I made a mistake." "What mistake?" "I helped her." That sentence hit harder than anything else. "How?" "I signed something." "What?" He rubbed his face. "An old document." He looked terrified. "She told me it was just confirmation that Grandma had intended Mom to manage the estate." I stared at him. "You forged a document?" "No. I didn't know." "Did you sign your name?" "Yes." I closed my eyes. This was worse than I thought. My mother wasn't just fighting me. She was trying to rewrite Grandma's wishes. And Tyler had helped without understanding what he was signing. I took the document to Daniel. He studied it carefully. Then he looked at me. "This could become serious." "What do we do?" "We move carefully." The next few weeks felt like living inside a chess game. My mother suddenly became nicer. She bought me new clothes. She offered to help me with college. She started telling me how proud she was. One evening, she hugged me. "I know we've had our disagreements." I stood still. "I love you." I didn't answer. She pulled away. "Don't you love me?" I looked at her. I don't know what love is supposed to feel like when it comes with conditions. Her expression froze. Then she smiled. "You sound just like Grandma," I said. "Thank you." Her smile disappeared. That night, my mother made a move I never expected. She announced that she wanted to take me on a trip. "Just you and me," she said. "Where?" "New York." "Why?" "Because I want to fix our relationship." I almost agreed. Then Daniel called. "Don't sign anything while you're away." I stopped. Why? Your mother requested another meeting with the estate attorney. I told him about the trip. There was a long pause.